What is this?
Wow, what a mansion!
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is...
What is it?
Maybe it's Chris. Now, Jill, can you go?
I'm going with you. Chris is our old partner, you know.
Okay, stay alert.
Resident Evil.
Hey, all you creatures from cyberspace. Thanks for joining us on another mini-sode of the Grave Talk podcast. Mini-sode, mini-episode, a teensy, a quickie. I don't know. It's one of them shorter things where we don't get all into our biz.
Well, to be fair, the quickies are a totally different thing, and John has cornered the market on those.
Thank you. Yeah, I work very hard on the quickies. It's what I'm best known for, is a good quickie.
Good call. Let's see. What are we talking about today? We're talking about Resident Evil. As a whole, in general, we're talking about the video game franchise. We may get into the movies later on down the road. I know they're John's favorite, most coveted Blu-ray collection on his shelf. But we're here to talk about what's kicked it all off in 1996, the Resident Evil franchise. We're leading into Garrett's playthrough of Resident Evil 8, which is going to be going up on our YouTube or Twitch or one of these streaming things that us old men don't know how to use very well, but Garrett will figure it out. He's going to be the pioneer into this brave new digital future that the kids are already in.
I'm so scared.
Cue the clip of Hello Fellow Kids or whatever it is with, what's his name?
Oh, Steve Buscemi? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, man, I've actually dug into about a quarter of the game. Came out as of recording last Friday. And put about 5.5 hours into it. I think it's fantastic. Garrett, you're going to like it.
You're talking about Resident Evil Village, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, also known as Resident Evil Village /8. The VILL is color coded, so you know it's number 8. It looks like a Roman numeral 8. So we thought we'd get together and just kind of talk about it and just loosely based on our experiences with the franchise, the plot in general over the course of the 7 games prior. If we want to jump in and talk about any of the weird offshoots, I'm not opposed to it. I didn't play a whole lot of those, but here we are. So, gentlemen, John, why is it that you seem to be in touch with the movie franchise over the games?
I mean, I wish there was some really deep, magical answer, but I think it's just because my wife is really into the movies, so I watched them through her. And before that, I never really played the Resident Evil games. Spoiler, I guess, for that part. I've only ever played some of 4 because that was really popular when I was in college, and then a little bit of one of y'all loaned me Resident Evil something or another, and I played a little bit of that, but I couldn't make it out of the house.
I think that was 7, Garrett. I think you lent him 7.
Yeah, it was probably 7.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've just kind of realized over the course of this, John, that you're not really into the horror games all that much, right? You're more of the movies.
Yeah.
You like strategy games like StarCraft and some of that other stuff. But when it comes to the puzzling and the fighting, that's just not really your jam, huh?
No, I just don't like horror games. I don't know. I've been meaning to play that Blair Witch one. It's on Game Pass, so eventually I'll give that a shot. Probably like the day before they remove it with my luck.
Well, Garrett, when did you get introduced to the franchise? You've been a ride or die since day one, 1996, on the old gray Sony PlayStation 1?
I actually have been around since the beginning. I did play the original Resident Evil. That one, it was interesting. I enjoyed it, but I also really didn't like it. Back then, I was still, as most of our listeners may or may not know, but I'm really into like fighting games like Street Fighter and Guilty Gear and Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. It tends to be my game of choice. But so Resident Evil at the time, the clunkiness of it, the tank controls as they're called, was not super something I was into. But the story and some of the scares that we had, man, totally got me. I think it was like the first horror game that I ever played on any kind of video game console that actually had me hesitant and like not wanting to walk through doors. So I played that, and then subsequently played Resident Evil 2, 3, and then went from there. And then when they did the remake on GameCube, I skipped that one because I didn't have a GameCube. And then Resident Evil 4 came out and everyone was raving about that. And so I think I picked the series back up then and kind of went back and caught up on everything.
This one is probably responsible for my love of the horror video game. It was the first one I ever played. And I know it's not the first one. I want to say like the Alone in the Dark franchise was out first, and there probably is a couple other games that can be considered horror video games. But to me, this was like the most well-represented version of that. I also associate Resident Evil with modern video games. And what I mean by that is like, that was the first time that I would literally see a console game have actual video clips of humans, voices in a video game were still super novel when this came out. Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, if you got Ryu saying a Hadouken, that was about it. And that was like, getting up there in terms of taking up the megabytes in the cartridge. But just having full-on audio throughout the entire game, this was a game changer for me.
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
I didn't get a Sony PlayStation until after Resident Evil came out, and it, along with Alone in the Dark, were the first games that I ever rented. And that was when the idea of a memory card was still brand fucking new. My parents got me the PlayStation 1, but no memory card. So guess what Mark got to do with Resident Evil? Die over and over again and just replay the fucking first couple corridors in the mansion because I couldn't save the damn game. So
Damn.
And the moment that just really hooks you on game one is when you're walking down the hall and the dogs smash through the window, dude. And man, I think my brother was probably 5 at the time, and he ran out of the room screaming. Like, it was that effective. It was cool, man. It was just something to do. Like, get all your buddies over, check out this thing that is Resident Evil. The zombie franchise, or the zombie genre rather, really hasn't become so overplayed and, just so many entries in it yet. It's still cool to do the zombie thing. So that, this game to me holds like that spot of just really where everything took off for me as a person who loves horror video games.
An awesome choice, stranger.
My younger brother got a PlayStation because I never got one, but I played it on his, and I was the one who got freaked out by the dog part. So there was quite a bit of, like, as you said, the zombie stuff. And this definitely is, Resident Evil is kind of known for its zombie, apocalypse type situation. But what really stuck out for me for Resident Evil, though, was all the giant monsters. Like, it wasn't so much the zombies. It was, you go into that attic and there's an insanely huge snake. You go into, there was all these like, just creatures that existed that were not specifically, zombies. And the idea of mixing the zombies and this kind of like creepy, otherworldly, these giant creatures just happen to exist in this time and place really did a lot to kind of set that mood and really kind of get me interested in more the backstory and the lore of what was going on in these games. And I will say that Resident Evil is one of those few franchises that's done a really good job of keeping their overarching storyline relevant and pretty awesome. Like, from the first game up to the current game. I mean, I haven't played 8 yet, but up through 7, the way that these all interconnect and the way the story actually plays out. There are a few exceptions. I'm looking at you, Resident Evil 5, Matrix, Neo, Wesker. But the umbrella story and stuff like that has always been really entertaining, which is why, John, you might hate this, which is why I hated the movies so damn much, because the umbrella stuff was so note by note, like, we're an evil corporation, wah ha 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 ha. And it's like, oh my God, there's so much like depth into this umbrella story. And they touched on none of it. They didn't give 2 shits about it.
Despite what Mark may lead people to believe, I'm not a defender of the Resident Evil movies. They're terrible.
Show us the tattoo of Jalosevic on your ass.
Yeah, but that's from The Fifth Element. Totally different.
Oh, okay. I gotta say, Garrett, you're right. Like, while zombies is the set dressing that pulls in the majority of people, there's definitely so much more going on underneath the surface of this. Even in game 8, right? I'm not going to go into it, obviously, but the stuff that they've been advertising is literally surface level. There's stuff going on underneath here already that I'm like, oh, wow, did not see this coming. Same thing with game number 1. One of the most what the fuck moments is when you go deep into the lab where they, created the T virus that led to the Raccoon City outbreak that got everybody infected and turned into zombies. You fight a fucking shark.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, wait, what are we doing here? There's a goddamn shark now in the zombie game. And then you fight a plant. You're right. You fight a giant snake. It's just all over the place. But inside of the lore that they build in this universe, it all kind of makes sense. You're along for the ride. I do want to ask Garrett, I guess you're the only one qualified to answer this. Which is the pinnacle of the series?
Oh man, enter our hot takes. This is going to be highly disputed. It's kind of, I mean, we hear this all the time. It's hard to pick a favorite. I honestly, though, am going to go with Resident Evil. Oh man, I'm taking so much shit for this. Resident Evil 5.
You better get your shovel. You got a lot of shit to start digging out of.
Why don't you do us all a favor and leave before the audience gets pissed off?
I know that it's a super unpopular opinion, and yes, the story itself is not the strongest on like its surface, but let me run through my reasons for liking 5 so much. Resident Evil 5 is the reintroduction of Chris Redfield back into the series. He existed in 1 and
yeah, I don't think he showed up again until 5, right?
Yeah, Chris is, so let's just burn through this real fast. So Resident Evil 1, there's an outbreak at the mansion. There's some creepy shit going on, and your elite covert badass team of agents called STARS go to check it out. And you discover that there's an evil corporation, or a corporation called Umbrella, which has been doing a bunch of research, and they have inadvertently made zombies and through experimentations to make like bioweapons and stuff like that.
Resident Evil 2.
The virus has spread to the city, full on Raccoon City, like overtake zombie apocalypse type stuff. And you're Leon and Claire, and you both come to Raccoon City on your first day. And oh my God, zombie apocalypse, you got to survive. You find out some more stuff about Umbrella. You get a little more insight into like how clandestine and how deep the roots of this organization go.
Resident Evil 3.
Then Resident Evil 3 takes place the same exact day as Resident Evil 2, but you're playing a different character, Jill Valentine. And Jill is from the original Resident Evil. She was one of your main characters. And this is the introduction. This is the game that introduces Nemesis, which everyone kind of knows. I think he was in the second movie, the giant like burn face monster that like is looking for the stars people.
Yeah, that guy's pretty cool.
Nemesis was like, I think like the first, he was the pyramid head of Resident Evil. He's like the iconic, people see it and just know what's up. Then there was Code Veronica, which was kind of an offshoot game where, wait, was that Chris in that one?
It was Claire and Steve.
Steve. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't tell if Chris, I think Chris made an appearance, but so they go to Antarctica to follow up on some more Umbrella shenanigans, and you meet a whole cast of characters. It's kind of like a little side game, but it does kind of give some more insight into how robust and, crazy Umbrella was getting.
Resident Evil 4.
Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 2 is now it's fun to say, he's now like the Secret Service protector of the president, because at this point, the T virus, has kind of gone global almost. It's out there. It exists. There's a black market for, bio weapons and stuff like that. So people are buying the T virus on the underground market, and you're kind of tracking it down. The president's daughter gets kidnapped and taken to this like Eastern European village. And you, as the Secret Service badass, are going to go get her back. And then through doing so, you kind of understand that the virus has been mutated and is now being sold on the black market. Yada, 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 yada. Cut to
Resident Evil 5.
And this is why I like Resident Evil 5 so much. Chris Redfield comes back, but now the entire world has had to establish a group that handles nothing but these like biological virus outbreaks. So if someone's got a variation of the T virus or the N virus or something like that, his group of BAAA or whatever they're called, BSAA, goes to put a stop to it. Like they're like this badass team of, like we go quell these threats. So he's traveling all over the world, and he ends up going to Africa. And this story, if you actually play pretty far into it and get past like just the initial like, oh, I'm killing zombies, you start to uncover the very beginning origins of how Umbrella even got created. So through the story, you find out how the T virus got made. It wasn't originally supposed to be a bioweapon, and you kind of like uncover the inadvertent corruption of this this biological thing. And you kind of learn how Umbrella splintered and kind of became its own little separate groups of those who wanted to make it like a weapon, those who wanted to make it like a life-saving, like medicine. And it kind of goes from there. Now, this game does also incorporate Wesker. Albert Wesker, who comes back and has Neo-like Matrix powers, which is fucking ridiculous. But it fits in the game perfectly.
I should have killed you years ago. Chris.
Your mistake. It's over, Wesker.
Over. I'm just getting started.
Yeah, that's I like 5 because it's just all like backstory. It's like just wonderful deep dive backstory.
I get it from that perspective. I think for me, though, that was the first time they decided to do the co-op multiplayer stuff, and I just wasn't a big fan of that when it came out. I was so used to the traditional survival horror style game, where this one was more of an action-oriented 2-player co-op. You go to point A and then point B, and then we unlock the gate, and then we can both get in and progress through the storyline, which turns out I was totally on board with for number 6. So much so that I didn't beat 5 until I cleared 6, and I was like, you know what? Now that I'm kind of okay with this gameplay change, let me go back and play 5. And I played it with a friend, and I had a good time with it. So I think it was just the change of the time. You know what I mean? I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, no, it was a definite abrupt change from the feel of the franchise so far. Because Resident Evil 4 was the first kind of, instead of like a third-person fixed camera type game, 4 was the first over-the-shoulder kind of like almost first-person, third-person kind of mode. So it really focused more on action and shooting. Resident Evil 5 continued in that path, but you're right. They did take a much more action-oriented, quick time. That's where you push buttons as things happen on the screen, like certain, like, you know, push X right now to make an event happen. So it was quite a bit of a departure from what we had experienced before. So I could see that being quite a bit of a shock to most players. You mentioned 6.
Resident Evil 6.
6 was such an interesting game in the fact that it was 3 different storylines all taking place at the same exact time in different locations that all converge into one grand story at the end. Leon goes back to Raccoon City and is looking at some event that a senator was at, like some rally that got taken over by zombies. So he's looking at that. You've got Chris in China, who's now trying to like stop an outbreak of zombies in China. And then you've got Wesker's kid out of nowhere, who's kind of like, I guess, like what, early 20s, mid 20s?
Yeah, also a superhero like his Matrix mode in number 5.
Yeah, he's definitely, and the reason that is because Wesker has injected himself with different versions of the strains of viruses and stuff like that. So he's got like kind of superhuman powers. It all makes sense in game, but his son got some of those through genetics, I guess. He's kind of like a mercenary, but all these stories converge onto one for this big kind of like, you know, we finally shut Umbrella down. And that's when the game goes to Resident Evil 7, which was, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, was the first-person Resident Evil. Is that correct?
More or less. You know, it depends if you want to count the rail shooters on like the Wii or the PlayStation Move or whatever, you know. Those were pretty fun in their own right, but definitely kind of like a greatest hits, right? So if you played the one on the Wii 2-player shooter, you know, your arcade style light gun game, you'd go back through the mansion and first person style shooting at the screen. But yes, you're right. Total full free movement in first person. Resident Evil 7 was the first in the franchise. And according to the creators, they all originally wanted to do this. I don't know if they were just jumping on the PT bandwagon that was happening so hard in 2017. You know what I mean? They were like, Konami released the Silent Hills trailer and then canceled it and all that, and everybody's in an uproar. And then here comes Resident Evil 7 first-person mode to be like, what about us? I was against it at first, but the more I saw of it and then finally getting into it, it's in the top of the franchise, man. I've played through it 2 or 3 times, and going in VR, holy shit, it's the next level, man. It's so much fun.
I can't do it. I cannot do Resident Evil 7 VR.
It's so much fun, dude. You got to try it at least once, maybe someday.
And Resident Evil 7 was a completely different story. Like, the entire game takes place with very little, if any, reference to the previous games. It almost seems like its own separate entity and story. And it's through these little subtle clues that you can pick up during the game that you kind of like, you find little links to different storylines. Never a direct connection, never like, you know, like, oh, well, Leon was so-and-so's friend. It's always like, oh yeah, I met this guy at a gas station who was driving to some plane to go to China. You know, like very loose connections. But Resident Evil 7's like if Texas Chainsaw Massacre met, Day of the Dead, man. It's fucking nuts. From start to finish, a great game. Definitely scared me in ways that I didn't really know Resident Evil could do. Silent Hill, yes. Resident Evil, no. But it kind of completely changed things. So that's why, and I if I remember correctly, Resident Evil 8 is a direct continuation of 7.
Right. So I guess if we want to get a little more granular with the details of 7, so the viewer, if anybody's going to tune in and watch Garrett play through this, it might be useful to know the backstory of 7. So spoilers on that. If you haven't played it, I think we both recommend checking it out. Maybe get a little bit further along than John did, and it'll hook you for sure. But yeah, so basically...
Wait, hold on. You want them to play more than 10 minutes of the game before they make a judgment? How dare they?
That was mostly a dig at you. No, so basically this one couldn't feel more removed from the mainline Resident Evil games when it came out. Now, as you progress through the story, it reveals itself to have a connection. But when you start playing it, you're playing a man named Ethan Winters. He got an email from his dead girlfriend saying, "Ethan, come get me." And he's like, what the fuck? So then he finds himself out in backwoods Louisiana, and he finds his girlfriend, and seems to be possessed in some form or fashion. Can't tell if it's by virus, serum, or ghosts or whatever, right? So you don't know what's happening. And Ethan gets his hand cut off in the opening sequence of the game. And then he finds himself strapped to a chair at a table with the most disgusting piles of rotten food and meat and the weirdest looking hillbilly Cajun family that you could possibly imagine in the dirtiest house ever.
Hit boy's got to eat. He got to have his supper. Come here, boy. Let's do this. Come on.
Oh shit, he's not eating it, Jack! He's not eating it!
Get the hell up, Marguerite!
I made that for him!
Get the hell out of here!
You're a son of a bitch!
And he finds himself just trying to break out of this house for the next, couple hours. As you progress through the story, you find out that this child named Evelyn, who was a specimen under Umbrella's care, has some sort of ability, thanks to the virus or what have you, create these weird goo monsters that you're fighting throughout the game that take these forms of just, I don't know even how to describe them really, just like black skeleton-esque amorphous blobs that come to life that you got to take out. She also has been infecting anybody that's within the range of her abilities, turning them into some sort of immortal mutated monsters. And that's what this whole family ends up being, is a group of people that can die and reform themselves and regenerate and just turn into all nasty kinds of bio goo and teeth. And you got to fight all this stuff, right? Well, that's happening to your girlfriend, Mia, the one that you thought was dead and has been missing for so long. At some point, Ethan is given an option to either give his girlfriend an antidote or this girl named Zoe an antidote. You as the player get to make that choice, and it does affect the story a little bit. And as it plays out, Ethan finally escapes either with Mia or Zoe. Now, the canonical ending, and what leads into number 8, is that Ethan saved his girlfriend, and this game's going to pick up a couple years down the road from that. And that's kind of where this is leading into 8. There's more to it than that, but that's just kind of the gist.
No, yeah, 7 was just insanely creepy. That dinner scene that Mark's talking about, you can think like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 level, like insanity. But yeah, you find out that this the little girl with the powers was from a tanker, like a giant tanker ship that was transporting her. And they ran aground at some point in the Gulf, and she wandered out and then was picked up by this family. So this family is just kind of like this weird, kind of like unfortunate situation where they just kind of took this girl in to be, nice, and then it kind of ended up backfiring on them. But man, the Baker family, I believe is what they're called, they are insanely well done in 7. Like you were legitimately tense and fearful that you're going to run into them constantly, which I really appreciate it, because not since Nemesis in Resident Evil 3 did you have that level of like severe, like, God, I hope I don't run into this person.
Yeah, and that's something they did so well. I think they masterclassed it with number 7, and they took that into the remakes, right? So, game number 2, Resident Evil 2, with Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield in the police station, if you choose Leon Kennedy's story, you're chased by a character named Mr. X throughout the entirety of the game.
Mr. X.
They took that idea and made it better and then put out Resident Evil Nemesis or Resident Evil 3, right? And then here we are in 7, revisiting that idea of being chased by an unstoppable killing force in the form of Jack Baker, and then I forget the mother's name. I'll just call her Ma Baker, and then the brother Lucas Baker. There you go. So again, they're playing with this idea of being chased, and they take it into 8. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you're going to have some of those sequences here too, Garrett. So if you freaked you out then, you're going to like it. You're going to get more of that in the next game.
Well, all I know about 8 is, as I've mentioned on other podcasts before, is werewolves and giant 9-foot vampire ladies. So that's all I know. So I definitely know there is a direct connection between 7. I just don't know what that is at this time. And I'm really interested to kind of find out how they've done this. Because as we mentioned earlier in this episode, Capcom has done a phenomenal job of keeping this story going and progressing and building on itself, while at the same time not getting too overly convoluted in the grand scheme of things. You know, once you got to 5, there was some characters that you're like, all right, this is getting a little bit insane. But for the most part, you know, the story itself has, you know, progressed nicely.
We're going to have to do a recap, maybe another mini when we're done finishing up the game. The advertisement in the large 9-foot giant lady and the I mean, you've seen the trailer, so you know there's like those girls that turn into mist, if you will, and are kind of like the big lady's daughters.
Are they mist or bugs? I thought they turned into bugs.
They're bugs. I was trying to be a little vague with it, but yeah, they're made of bowfly. That's what it is. They're made of bowflies. That's just surface level, man. In the first opening cutscene, when shit goes tits up, you're like, oh, there's so much more to this than just giant women, dude. And
well, I know there's more than just giant women. Although, yeah, no, I definitely know there's more to it. I mean, the environment itself, if anybody's seen the trailer for this, and if you haven't, I definitely recommend looking at the trailer for Resident Evil 8 if this piques your interest. Like, it seems to take place in an environment that closely resembles Resident Evil 4. Now, I don't know if there's any direct connections between those two games, but a lot of people have been comparing the feel of Resident Evil 4's environment and the Las Plagas villagers in that game to kind of loosely the feel of what you're seeing in the trailers and stuff of this game. Now, again, I could be totally wrong about that. I'm just speculating, but I like the fact that that Capcom kind of dips back into the well, but without like, you know, like we're gonna completely redo this, or we're gonna kind of just do the same thing over again, but with different characters or different looks. You know, they legitimately just kind of use some of the they use nostalgia as window dressing, which is really kind of nice because it doesn't hinder the progression of these new characters and these new stories. And I don't know much about Ethan outside of 7. I didn't really find him to be that interesting of a character. So I'm really hoping they do something to kind of endear him to me in this game, because otherwise I don't give a fuck what happens to him.
We'll talk after we wrap the games. I will definitely say that there is many tips and nods in level design, characters, and other things within this game. Really say, hey, we know you guys like Resident Evil 4, right? There's a lot of homage to that in this game, and I think it works really well, especially in that Resident Evil 7 gameplay style.
How many movies are there of Resident Evil? I think there's at least 5, right?
Believe there's like 7 million or so, or at least that's what it feels like.
Accurate. I want to say there were 7 of them, wasn't there?
I feel like 7 is the right number, but I don't know.
Wow, that's so many. I remember the first one, and I think John, you said you wanted to do an episode on the first Resident Evil movie. I was so angrily disappointed with that film. But then I remember the second one, they really tried to lean into like, oh, we'll kind of make it a little bit more like the video games. I don't know if they achieved that completely, but they definitely had some visual stuff that was like, hey, look, remember this, nerds? But then the third one, all I remember from the third one is that it was completely just like a wasteland Mad Max zombie movie. And I was like, this has nothing to do with anything anymore.
Y'all, I have super exciting news. I am so amped to share this with y'all. There are 6 Resident Evil movies. It ended in 2016 with Resident Evil, the final chapter. But, and you heard it here last, folks, according to Wikipedia, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, a reboot of Resident Evil, is in production and it is expected to come out in November of this year. That's right. We're getting more Resident Evil films.
I feel like you've shared that news with us before during a regular episode.
Well, double sharing, because I shared it and then forgot about it and just relearned it again.
I think we had the same discussion of like why?
I'll tell you what. Apparently, Resident Evil movies way more popular overseas than America. The last one, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, made $26 million in America on a $40 million budget, and then made $287 million overseas.
Jesus Christ.
It was the 375th most popular movie worldwide of 2017.
Why? I morbidly want to know how. Like, was it Mia Jovovich? Is she that big of a draw overseas?
Yeah, I don't know.
It can't be Paul Anderson.
Looks like Michelle Rodriguez was in it too.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was. So the franchise globally has spent $288 million making movies and has returned $1.2 billion.
Good God.
That's so much money.
That's so sad. And yet I couldn't get a season 4 of Daredevil on Netflix. This is bullshit. That being said, just to kind of like bring this back, I've always loved the Resident Evil series. They've always done an amazing job of, capturing the feel of their environments, bringing their characters and kind of really giving them the opportunity to kind of become well-rounded. There has been some bumps in that road. The the thing with Jill where she becomes able to teleport, and when Wesker becomes like Neo from the main, I mean, stuff like that, you're just like, all right, it makes sense within the plot because like fantastical stuff happens all the time in Resident Evil, but it really does kind of detract from some of the character growth that we've seen. But overall, I think the series is always handled really well. I feel like they always, bring a lot of care to it. It makes me sad to see Capcom put this much effort into their games and see Konami put so little effort into Silent Hill.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill.
Yeah, man. No, I don't even want to get started on that. I'm a super big Silent Hill fanboy. The rumors won't stop, though. In the last couple years, they keep ramping up. So I'm crossing my fingers that all these rumors coming around means we might get something soon on that franchise.
Well, you know that Konami is now like licensing their stuff out, right?
Which is fine. They don't have anybody left there that is doing anything worthwhile. I wouldn't trust them to make anything. That Contra game they put out, it was awful. Just awful.
The Contra game where you have to where you can run out of bullets?
Yeah, that is counterintuitive to what a Contra is. You do not run out of bullets. What are you doing? So whatever, let somebody else take a crack at. I mean, they've been licensing out Silent Hill for the last 4 or 5 entries anyway, so nothing new there. Well, I do want to end us on a question. Which one's the worst Resident Evil, Garrett? Put you on the spot.
Of the major releases, right?
Yeah, I'm not counting Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles or any of that stuff.
Okay.
1 through 8, we'll say 7. You haven't played 8. So 1 through 7. We didn't mention 0. That's actually my answer. 0 is my least favorite of all the mainline entries.
I like the fact that we got to play Rebecca Chambers in 0, and that had a lot of backstory with Umbrella too, but it was a lot of oh, that's really interesting and not really relevant to where we are in the story now.
Yeah.
So that was a bit redundant. I'm going to have to say 0 also. I almost went with Code Veronica, but I do remember Code Veronica having some very creepy moments, so that puts it over the top for 0.
Yeah, Code Veronica nails the gameplay. Really fucking fumbles the story, though. That story is garbage, but it is a lot of fun to play if you can just press start and skip through the cutscenes. What really makes 0 the worst is there is no item chest. You can't put anything away. You drop everything on the ground, so if you need that medallion or crank way down the game, you have to run all the way back to where you threw it on the ground. That's terrible. I don't know why they did that. They've been doing the inventory box for 4 to 5 games up to that point. It was crazy. Like, what are you doing?
Here's what happened. Are you ready? I know the answer to this. they got sick of people being like, oh, where's he storing that crowbar? Is he shoving it up his ass? And so they're like, you know what? Fine. You get shit, throw it on the ground. If you want to be real life so bad, here you go.
Yeah, that's not a bad take on that. It was just, I'm playing a video game. I know it's not real life. Okay, come on.
Yeah, I forgot about that mechanic completely altogether. But yes, that was very annoying. Who's your favorite character out of the Resident Evil franchise?
Oh, man, I'm going to go generic and just say it's probably Leon Kennedy. And it's just because he's in two of the ones that I hold the highest regard for. Number 2, number 4. And, number 4 came along, and when they had been doing the tank controls to death, at the time, I was tired of that gameplay style, so when we finally got to hop into that over-the-shoulder third-person mechanic, man, that was a lot of fun. And then 2, because I loved 1 and 2 and 3 so much, 2 just had more zombies. It was just more chaos, kind of, that part 1 brought, but just amplified with that many more zombies. And I'm gonna tell you something here that is probably gonna make me look like a bad video gamer. But something that Resident Evil 1 and 2 did is they had 2 playable characters that had differences in item drops and keys and things of that nature. I only always played the easiest version. So in part 1, that would be Jill. I always skipped over Chris because I got annoyed that I didn't have enough inventory slots.
Get good, scrub. No, I mean, that's completely fine. I mean, honestly, the argument of whether games should have easy modes or not is a debate that will rage on forever with, video game fans and, casuals alike. And honestly, I don't think it hurts anybody at all to have those. So if you want to play things on easy, hey, if you want to play the Resident Evil franchise or any of these games and you want to play it on easy just to get through it and enjoy it, then do it. Like, it's all about playing them and having a good time. And if you're playing something that's so difficult that you're just not having a good time, what's the point? I mean,
yeah.
The achievement of being like badass at something only goes so far.
Yeah, who really cares how everybody else plays their video games? I'd rather you play through a game than quit early like John. So if John needs to jump that difficulty down to play it for me and I just watch, then fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Damn. Just throwing blows today.
Well, let me say this, John, and I'll stop ragging on you. I know we all got a nice shiny Xbox Series X under the TV or to the side because they're so goddamn big. Resident Evil 8, great showcase of the new hardware, man. I've been waiting for something new to play, new shiny tech.
Yeah.
This is a great looking video game.
I would love to have time to play that, but right now I'm playing BioShock Infinite from 2015.
Oh.
And I got to tell you what, 6-year-old graphics are plenty for me.
Good game. Glad you're finally getting around to that one.
Yeah, I've already played it. I've beat that one. I'm playing through all the BioShocks again, and I had just finished 1 and 2, and now I'm playing 3. But I've beat them all before.
Well, guess what, John? You don't have to worry about playing Resident Evil 8 on Xbox because I'm going to do it for you, baby. So as Mark mentioned, I will be doing a run through of Resident Evil 8. We'll be kind of like live streaming it. I don't know if we're going to live stream it on Twitch or if we're going to just kind of, record the audio, video, and the gameplay and just kind of like put it out as episodes. We're still trying to nail that all down.
Garrett, I'm going to help you out here. Before all the cool only one of the things you mentioned is a live stream.
Oh, okay.
If it's on Twitch and it's live, it's a live stream. If we recorded, it's just a video.
Hello, fellow kids.
Back in my days, we went to arcades. You put your quarter up on the top of the cabinet if you had next. I will not get into my old man like arcade days rants. But no, I'll be running through that. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, but you really don't have the the time or the effort, or really just don't give a shit enough to play through it yourself, you will be able to watch that in kind of an episodic form, or possibly even in live stream real time. It'll depend on how well we can get this all set up. That'll probably be about, let's see, this episode will probably be coming out around this weekend, the 15th. So look for that around the weekend of the 21st, 22nd of May. That's when I plan to start. I know it's a little bit of ways off, so I apologize for the delay, but that's going to give me enough time to get everything set up and actually be able to play the game and not have other work and side hustle conflicts. Look for that. Check that out. Also, if it goes well and there's anything else you guys want to see us play, let us know. I'm sure there's a few of you out there that would like to watch Mark or myself or John scream like little children at PT or any of the other, what was that other game that just came out on Xbox that was like, and PC that was like super scary?
There was the one called Visage. Is that the one you're talking about?
Visage. Oh, I couldn't make it through the trailer, dude. It had me so messed up. Maybe we'll do that.
It is photorealistic. I have that one on the box. It's good. I need to get back to that. There's just too many games to play. You know, I am always just on the cusp of being able to be pushed into turning into a horror video game podcast. If you listeners decide to start giving us thousands of views at Garrett's Twitch stream, I think I can make that switch happen.
We're gonna need thousands of listens on our podcast before we get the thousands of views on the Twitch thing. But no, that being said, if that's something that you're interested in, we'll be doing that pretty soon. We've also got a couple other fun things lined up for you guys. I know we've talked about it before, but the pandemic has been in quite the kick to the fucking nuts for everything that we have planned. But we will be doing a kind of like a Grave Talk All-Stars horror Trivial Pursuit contest. Either over Zoom or in person, depending on how our vaccines take. Also, get your vaccine, people. And then we've also got some other fun things in line. I think John might have a few quickies in the future, and I'm going to attempt on the website within the next couple weeks. I'm going to rate horror masks from best to worst. So I'm sure I'm going to piss a lot of you off with that one. So stay tuned. That'll be fun.
Worst mask ever is from Scream. There, I got your number one.
I disagree, but it's definitely not at the top of my list. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, listeners, check out Resident Evil 8. Come back, watch Garrett play it. Come check us out every other Tuesday for new content. We'll have Evil Dead 2 on the way pretty soon after this comes out. Thanks for listening. Drop us a line on our social medias, and we'll see you next time.